Hello, Peter Anthony Fields here. Welcome to the Playwright's Corner. Today we're going to talk further about how to write a screenplay, specifically how to structure a screenplay. Now, I know many of you may have already learned about structuring screenplays. You've read about it. The information is all over the place now, and that's fine. But perhaps there are a couple of points that you may not have heard of, and that I could supply you with. Um, Also, I know that many of you prefer not to work with a structured work, a formula work, so to speak. But there are many who find it helpful. And this is for those people who find this having a structure or a formula helpful. I personally need structure when I write. It helps me organize, keep my thoughts organized, and helps me lay out the story in a much more effective way. Now, we're talking about a 3-act structure of a screenplay. There are also 4-act and 5-act structures that exist out there, but I'm more comfortable with the 3-act. That's how I first learned, and that's how I will continue. So if you're interested, stick with us, and hopefully you'll find this very informative. And if so, click the subscribe button and also the thumbs up button if you like the video. Now, to have a good screenplay, you need to have a theme for your story. The theme is the overall message of the story. What are you trying to convey to the audience? What main point are you trying to convey? That eating too much food is bad for you, or stay out of trouble, or you'll end up in jail, or anything along those lines. Music is uplifting and it fills the soul and it can bring you to new heights. Uh, Anything at all that can be summarized in that way. That's your theme. Your plot is exactly what happens within the story. So, John wakes up in the morning and he is in a bad mood. He hears music playing one day and he decides he wants to learn how to play the instrument. He learns how to play the instrument, and his mood lifts, and he's a better, happier, brighter person because of it. And that's a very simplified version of a story, of a plot. Um, and that incorporates the theme, music is good for you. So once you have those elements laid out before you, now how are you going to tell the story? What's going to happen in the beginning, middle, and end? That's where an outline helps out a lot. So you take the outline and you begin to fill in all the blanks with facts and events that will happen in the story. Let's take a closer look at that. When you have a story, you start with Act 1. We have a screenplay, you start with Act 1. And Act 1 is the setup. It's where you learn about the characters in the story, who they are, what their likes and dislikes are, what their strong points are, and what the problem is that they have to solve in the overall arc of the story. So you begin with an introduction to the characters. You want to show a quick, very quick, 1 minute, half a minute glimpse of who these people are. What are their personalities like? You set it up that way. Then you hit and move on to the next one, the next character. You set up that character, what that person is like, what their relationship to the other person, if any, what that's like. And then you introduce, perhaps you want to introduce the antagonist in this area as well. That's fine. You can save the antagonist till later. In Act 2, that's fine as well. But Act 1 must end on a turning point, a point where the story pivots to go to the next level, the next stage, which is Act 2. So the day is going fine, and let's say the instrument that this guy, let's call him Bob, that Bob wants to play, let's say that the instrument is stolen. Okay, and he's in the movie. The point of the movie is his quest to find his stolen instrument, to get it back. So the turning point, the pivot point in the story from Act 1 to Act 2, which usually comes in, if it's a 2-hour movie, it'll come at the 30-minute mark, because Acts 1 and 3 are the same length and they equal the length of Act 2. So 30 minutes for Act 1, 60 minutes for Act 2, 30 minutes for Act 3. Back to Act 1. The pivot point, turning point, is when the instrument is stolen. Now Bob has to go find out who stole his instrument and get it back. So that's the turning point. And that leads us to Act 2. Act 2 is all about Bob trying to find out who stole his instrument and how to get it back and how to not get himself hurt in the process. There must be at least 9 event challenges that Bob faces in Act 2 that lead us into Act 3. The 9 key incidents that occur in Act 2, let's call them mini challenges. So Bob meets Mr. Johnson, and Bob, when he meets Mr. Johnson happens to be the leader or a member of the instrument stealing gang, and so he meets, but Bob doesn't know this. So he meets with Mr. Johnson, and Mr. Johnson tries to throw him off. Bob suspects something is not right. He looks deeper into it. Mr. Johnson realizes he's looking deeper into it, and Mr. Johnson tries to hurt Bob in some way, and Bob escapes and gets away from him. That's a mini challenge, one mini challenge. And then you go to the next mini challenge. Bob tries to get transportation to go to the next location where perhaps Mr. Johnson accidentally slipped up and gave him the name of a location. And so Bob must try to get there. Is he going to catch the bus? Is he going to ride in a taxi cab? Is he going to walk or run or steal a bike? Any of those things could be a mini challenge. And so he finds out that he's going to steal a bike. He takes the bike and he rides it, and then the person who owns the bike sees him with it and starts to chase. Maybe he tells the police, hey, this guy's got my bike. The police are on bicycles themselves. Then there's a bike chase. And so all the events that happen within that bike chase, all the suspenseful moments, that's a mini challenge number 2. And on until you get to the 9th mini challenge, which also is the pivot point to send you into Act 3. Now before we get to Act 3, we want to make sure that we use the 5th pivot point, the fifth challenge, mini challenge. We want to use that as a high point or perhaps a low point in the protagonist Bob in his journey to find his instrument. And so this could be a low point in his life. It's a peak in the Act 2, right in the middle of Act 2. It's a peak point, but it's a low point for the character. Maybe he feels that all is lost. He can't go on any further. Something happened that makes it look very grim. The prospects of getting the instrument back, and so everything is down and low, and it looks like all is lost. So mini challenges number 6, 7, 8, and 9 are lead you into the Act 3, and they perhaps things get worse for the protagonist with each mini challenge, or perhaps it gets slightly better till the 9th pivot mini challenge, where it definitely looks like he's going to go into a final round of trying to get his instrument back. This is the last time, last call, last great adventure, Act 3. So when you get to Act 3, you will have perhaps no less than 3 mini challenges. The second and third one, either one of those could be the big climax of the whole thing, the big fight, the big confrontation. And then the last mini challenge, if the second mini challenge is the big confrontation, the big climax of the whole thing, the big fight, then the third mini challenge on Act 3 would be a resolve of anything that's been going on previously in the film. Perhaps the second storyline, which I haven't talked about yet, but So then you end with your conclusion at the end of Act 3, and you're set. Now this ensures, what's the purpose of having many challenges? It ensures that your story is filled with something exciting that takes the audience on a ride, and you're not just having conversation that goes nowhere, or action that goes nowhere that doesn't have anything to do with anything. Everything that happens in the story with the many challenges has a point, it has a purpose, and it moves the story forward. Now, we're about the second storyline that I mentioned, the second plot, second thing that goes on in the story. You have the main storyline, which is Bob needs to find his bicycle. Bob needs to find his instrument. Bob needs to find his instrument, and then the underlying storyline, the second storyline, is Bob's relationship with his girlfriend, Sally. We didn't introduce Sally yet, but now we're going to introduce Sally, put her in the story from the beginning, Act 1 to Act 2 to Act 3. She is going to help out. She's Bob's strength, and she gives him the strength to go on to find this instrument and not to give up. And so, but their relationship may be strained because of something that Bob can't forgive, or maybe that Sally can't forgive, find it difficult to forgive. And so you're dealing with that underneath of all the main plot of trying to find his instrument. And so you work with that, and then you resolve it in Act 3, or at the end of Act 2 you can resolve it. At the very end of Act 2, before we go into the Act 3, the pivot point that sends us to Act 3, before all that, we resolve this relationship between Bob and Sally. That's the idea, in my personal opinion, that's the best place to put it. But you can also put it into Act 3 after the big climax, after the mini challenge 1. Mini challenge 2 could be the big climactic fight, and mini challenge 3 is about wrapping up, resolving this issue that they have in their relationship. And that sends us to the end. So I hope that helps you as you develop your story, your screenplay, and that you will have a fun time with it. That's what it's all about, having fun, enjoying what you're doing, writing and creating stories. And I will have a companion to this video, which is talking about the screenplay as a blueprint, good or bad. And so we'll talk about that and see where it takes us. Okay, so thanks a lot for joining me on this Playwright's Corner. And I will catch you guys later. Have a great day and a great tomorrow. See ya.